Good afternoon. My name is Ashutosh, and I'll be your instructor for this one-day AWS Masterclass. Okay, so I hope you all are excited for this journey. And the very first thing over here is we are going to start from very scratch. That means you no as such cloud experience is required over here. If you haven't heard the name of the cloud before as well, you don't need to worry about the same, right? Because we are going to uh, begin with the very scratch, right? So that means no as such prerequisites are there for this masterclass, right? So I hope you all are excited, right? So we'll just wait for one more minute, right? It's 12:07, right? We'll just wait for one more minute, right? And then we'll start so that other students can also join, right? So just wait for a minute. Okay, it's 12:08, obviously. So I think uh, it was almost completed. That is no problem in that. So let's start with the journey, right? So the thing over here is in this class, this will be complete hands-on, right? So uh, we will begin with the theoretical concepts first, right? So the basic theoretical concepts that what and why of the cloud, and then we will start with the AWS services, and after that we will just complete the theory and then the hands-on, and the theory then the hands-on. So everything will be crystal clear, right? But I won't be able to concentrate on the live chat during the session, right? So the Q&A session can be handled at the last 30 minutes, right? Or we will see that accordingly that how the things will gonna happen. But let's start with the uh, concepts, right? So let's begin. Okay. So let's think of a scenario, right? Let's say this is a guy. Okay. Okay. So let's say we this guy loves to play the video games, right? So here, what do we need to do is, so let's say we need to buy a new computer, right, or a machine where let's say some high graphics video games. Let's say if you are a gaming fan, obviously you heard the name of the new games like Call of Duty, Cold War, or GTA 5, whatever it is. So right now that this respective person don't have the enough power in his machine or the laptop, right? So to run that respective game, right? Let's think of this scenario. Okay. So what this respective person can do, this person can go to the market, right? And this person can buy a new PC or a new laptop, let's say where the RAM will be, let's take some another, any X number, let's say 28 GB, let's say, right? The RAM will be 28 GB. Let's say we have 4 TB of hard disk and different configuration of graphic card and whatever the things which you can count on, right? So obviously this will be a very expensive computer. Let's say if we can cost it out, let's say 1.15 lakhs or something like that. Any X cost can be assumed, but obviously this is so expensive, right? And after some time, a new game introduced where we required at least 32 GB of RAM, at least. And this is the gaming person. And right now, this respective machine or laptop is trash because it has only 28 GB of RAM. Obviously, we can increase the RAM, but let's say all the slots are full. And this respective person need to go to the market again and buy a new PC or whatever the new configurations or something. But this thing is, some kind of a pain in the neck. What I'll say, right? Let's say if there is a scenario, right, where what is going to happen? Let's say if the same person is over here, right, and right now there is another person. And this person will say that, okay, I'll just provide you the PC, right? With whatever configuration which you will say or which you will ask. You want 32 GB of RAM? I'll provide that. You want 40 GB of RAM? I'll provide it. You want that terabytes of hard disk or any X configuration? I'll provide it. You need to pay accordingly. That means uh, how much you're going to use this machine. Let's say per hour or per second. Let's say I have used this machine for 60 minutes. That is 1 hour. I'm going to pay only for this 1 hour. And after that, I'll just shut down this machine. I'll just give back to this guy. Right now, I just played the whole game, let's say for 60 minutes, or I played the game whole night, let's say 8 hours, right? And I need to pay only for the 8 hours to this guy, right? So, and accordingly, we need to pay, and this policy is known as pay as you go. Pay as you go. That means the amount of uh, consumption of the machine, or let's say whatever for which duration which you're using the machine, you need to pay for that. So I think this is the much more optimal way, right? Let's say this person said that you need to pay me 100 rupees, let's say, per hour. Let's say let's I'm just taking some random number, or 200 rupees, let's say. Or if you need very high performing machine or something, the money will increase obviously per hour. Let's say 500 rupees. So this is the thing. So accordingly, we need to buy the machine, and accordingly we can pay to this respective vendor. I think this is much more cheap, right? So let's say we have played 2 hours or 3 hours. Accordingly, we need to pay the money according to the machine. So this is much more cheaper, right? We are getting the complete and exact same configuration like this, and this is much more cheap, right? And exact same configurations will be given. So I think this is the much more optimal idea. What do you think? Right? So this is the one example, right? Don't worry, we haven't started with the cloud yet, but I'm just giving you some scenarios, right? So let's move ahead with another scenario, right? Let's say I wanted into the market, right? This guy wanted into the market, and this guy purchased a hard disk, one hard disk, right? And that respective hard disk is of, let's say, 1 TB, right? Let's say rupees 4,000. Okay. So now this respective person is only using 600 GB. Remaining is still empty. But we have paid for the complete 1 TB. But we are not using the 1 TB, right? We are only using 600 GB. The remaining space is yet empty, but we have paid for the full hard disk. Let's say tomorrow this hard disk got corrupted. The data is gone. Obviously, we can recover the data. N number of tools are available. But remember that the complete data can never be recovered. We have N number of tools to recover the data into the market. But this is 100% sure. Into the hard disk, we have something that is known as sectors. And in those respective sectors, we have a data. And 100% data cannot be recovered. Never. Right? So let's say tomorrow this respective hard disk got corrupted, right? That means your data is lost. You're gone. Let's consider another approach for this. There's one guy, same guy over here, and now there's another guy over here, right? So we have asked this guy, I need, let's say, 700 GB of space. Okay, this guy will be happy to give. So this guy can give the 700 GB of the space, and we can use the respective 700 GB. We have asked this guy to provide, let's say, 5 TB of space. This guy can give the 5 TB. no problem in that. We have asked this guy to provide, let's say, 1 GB of space, right? That means this guy can give only 1 GB. So we need to pay according to what we use for 700 GB, for 5 GB, for 1 GB, right? So this is the thing which we need to, I think this is the much more optimal way, right? That means we need to pay accordingly to what we use. And this guy will give the guarantee that your data will be available 99.119%. 11.9 means there will be 11 nines over there. 99999 dot 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 percent. That means if you access the data at 3 a.m. or whatever time, your data will be available completely. I think this is the much more optimal approach. We have this guy has given the data, and we are just putting the data into this respective given space. This is completely secure, and how this is secured, we will see this thing in the data section. But still, we are just trusting this guy, and this guy is also given the guarantee of the reliability and the availability of the data as well. That means the hard disk or the data will be available every time. That means we don't need to worry about the hard disk corruption or something like that. I think this is the much more optimal approach, right? This one. I think this is the much more optimal approach. That means we need to pay according to what we use. And the availability of the data is also guaranteed. Right? So I think this is the much more optimal way, and this is the power of the cloud. That's why we need cloud. Cloud is not just the storage. We have n number of facilities, services available in the cloud. Let's say if you need analytics, so the cloud can provide the feature. Machine learning, IoT, game development, AR, VR, security, whatever you can think of, they will provide the offering according to the use, right? And we will see this thing in this section, in the AWS section, right? So now what we need to do is, I think you are not aware, or you might be aware that you are using cloud daily. Daily you are using the cloud. How? So there is something that is known as, obviously you heard the name Google Drive. Google Drive, right? That means you have uploaded the photos, documents, videos, whatever it is, right? So Google Drive is the cloud of which is offered by Google Cloud Platform, GCP, right? So at the backend, they're using something that is known as cloud storage of the service, right? So Google Drive, you're using the Google Drive. That means you uploaded the photos and everything. Did Google Drive complain anytime that any issues which you have got from the Google Drive, that the Google Drive is not available at the moment, or let's say you are not able to access data because of some issues or something? No. They will guarantee that data will be available every time and safe. Obviously, the security of Google, right? So you are using the cloud daily, and that is the use case for the storage. But the cloud is not just the storage. We have n number of areas available in the cloud. Okay. So n number of possibilities, n number of use cases can be solved by using cloud. Right now in this course, we are not going to learn Google Cloud Platform, but today we're going to start with the AWS Cloud. Right. So today we're going to start with the cloud that is known as AWS. AWS means Amazon Web Services. Okay. So n number of cloud providers are there, right? So AWS is one of the leading cloud platform, right? So the most famous public cloud providers are AWS, Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, or Microsoft Azure. Okay. So there is something that is known as public cloud, private cloud, and the hybrid cloud. What is the meaning of public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud? We will see this thing in just a couple of minutes. But these are the most common public cloud providers, and the leading one is AWS, and then Google Cloud and Azure. Accordingly, we need to use the cloud according to the use case. Right? But in this class, today's masterclass, we are going to learn the AWS from the very basics. I hope you got the concept of why the cloud is required in today's world. Right? So let's understand one more scenario. There is something that is known as public cloud. Okay? So public cloud means, let's say AWS is the public cloud, Google Cloud Platform is the public cloud, Azure is the public cloud. All right. Public cloud means these respective clouds are available to use to be available for the whole public. Right. So that means anyone can create an account, right? And anyone can use this respective cloud. Right. That means obviously we can use the AWS cloud, and anyone can use the respective Google Cloud or Azure. They can create the account or whatever they would like to perform. That means X services are available to use, and for according to the use case, they can perform the operations. That means the computing power in which the service provider makes all the respective resources available over the internet. Right? And these respective services some respective services are free, and some are available, let's say, in some range that is in a free tier, or completely some respective services are just taking some amount according to the resource which you are using. And we will see that how the cloud can charge. Right? So let's move ahead towards the another concept that is known as private cloud. Public cloud is available only for the public offerings is available. Moving ahead to the private cloud, that means if you have, let's say, if you have an organization, you have a big network, right? So in the respective big network, you have created one cloud. Let's say you have just created one cluster. That means the computing in which service provider does not make the resources public. That means the respective resources of this respective private cloud are not public. This is only meant for the respective organization only. This is known as a private cloud. That means this respective organization has created their own cloud, right? And this respective cloud is available only in their network, right? This is meant for a ultra high performance, ultra high network security, privacy, and flexibility, right? So this is the thing, right? That means single enterprise, private cloud, high network performance, and adaptability and the flexibility. One example is OpenStack. This is the private cloud, IAM Cloud, or whatever you can think of. One of the known private cloud is the OpenStack, right? That means one single organization, right? On the other hand, we have created a complete network which is dedicated to this respective organization, and accordingly, we can use this whole network only for this respective dedicated organization only, not available for public. One example is OpenStack, right? The third one and the new generation or new concept that is known as hybrid cloud. Mind my handwriting. Okay, hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is one in which the applications are running in the combination of different environments. That means public plus private. This is the new concept which is introduced. And hybrid cloud computing approaches are widespread because almost no one today relies entirely on the public cloud. That means the solutions include the applications or their components such as computation, networking, and storage. That means which can be deployed on the public cloud as well as the private cloud. That means the on-premises plus the public cloud servers. Right? So this is the some different and the new approach available. in today's market, and most of the people, are using hybrid cloud as well. That means the combination of public plus private cloud, right? That simply means introduce two things. That means on premises plus the servers which are deployed over the cloud, right? So I think enough theory for the same, and now let's move ahead directly towards the concepts of the AWS cloud. Okay, so just a second. Okay, so here this is the AWS console. Okay, so now you need to create an AWS account if you don't have, right? So how you can create the AWS account, right? So here, let's open a new window, or new incognito window. You need to move ahead with the aws.amazon.com over here, right? Here you can create a complete brand new AWS account, right? So here, you need to click on create an AWS account. I think which are 2 to 3 steps over here, right? So you need to provide your username, the respective email address over here, and your preferred username over here, whatever you would like to. And you need to click on verify email address. In the next step, you need to add the details of the debit or the credit card available. Now, the question arises over here is why credit card or debit card is required. So AWS, what AWS will do, AWS will just deduct, let's say, 1 or 2 rupees from your account to check if this respective card is activated or not, right? And in the next 24 hours, the respective amount also be refunded back to the source account. Now, why do we need to add the card? Obviously, let's say if you're using some resources, let's say if you're just starting a virtual machine or anything which you're using, obviously cloud will take the cost. But don't worry, in this course, we will be under free tier, something that is known as free tier. We will understand what is the meaning of free tier. But due to this respective reason, you need to add the card details. Debit or the credit card will be accepted. I think Visa and MasterCard and everything will be accepted over here, right? 1 or 2 rupees will be deducted from your respective account. In the next 24 hours, the amount will be also refunded into the source account. And due to the reason, that means if you are using any specific resource or something like that, that is why we need to add the card details for the payment, right? But in this course, we will be available in the under the free tier. What is the meaning of free tier? We will see this thing. So, so which respective machines of the storage, how the things are actually under the free tier range, we will understand this thing in the flow, right? So accordingly, you need to create a AWS account. This is very simple, right? Now, I already have the AWS account, so I'm not going to create the one. But still, after creating the AWS account, you will see something like this. This is the AWS console, right? So as I said, cloud can provide n number of offerings to you guys, right? Whatever you can think of, right? So if I just go towards the services over here, click on this. In the left hand side, you can see analytics, application integration, AR/VR, cost management, blockchain, business applications, compute, containers, customer enablement, databases, and developer tools, end user, game development, IoT, ML, whatever you can think of, media, migration, quantum technologies, robotics, satellite, X number of services provided by the cloud. Okay. If you need to check on the analytics, let's say we have, sorry, we have uh, OpenSearch. This is a successful Elasticsearch. Managed streaming service for Amazon Apache Kafka, right? That means managed Kafka clusters in the cloud. Kinesis for the data streams, data flow for Kinesis Pyros, delivery, data streams, or whatever you can think of, Kinesis Analytics. Containers, if you need to see, that means we have managed Kubernetes service. Okay. That means on the other hand, we have the dedicated service for the containers that is known as Fargate and Elastic Container Service as well, right? And act n number of services available. Let's say if you need the IAC, that means we have all that respective service in the deployment as well. That means we have CloudFormation, or if you need, let's say, some kind of a CDA type of service, we have, Elastic Beanstalk as well. So whatever X services are available over here, but don't worry if you are just feeling overwhelmed by the name of the services. We're going to start with the very basics of the cloud today, right? So let's start with the very first service of the cloud, that is known as IAM, or Identity and Access Management. Right? So what is the meaning of IAM? Just don't think of the cloud now. Okay. Don't think of the cloud, that what is the cloud, whatever things which you explained. Just keep the concepts in your mind, but right now just forget about the cloud just for a minute. Okay. Let's think about a scenario. There is a user that is known as user A, another user that is known as user B. Okay. We have one file over here. Okay. In this respective file, let's say there's some content written over here, whatever it is. Okay. So now let's think, let's say the user A has the permission to read the file. Correct? The user B has the permission to read plus write on the file. Let's say. Okay. In this respective file I'm talking about. Okay. So that means the user A can only read the data from it, but cannot modify anything. Only read. Okay. B user can read the data as well as modify the data as well, write on this respective file as well. Correct? So accessing the let's say, so the power of this respective the respective user, that means the read, and for the user B, read and write, that means managing the accessibility of the respective file of for the against the respective identities, right? This is the concept of identity and access management, that is managing the access of the respective resources in the cloud. How you're going to manage the accessibility, that means how much a respective person can access a respective resource, and the management concept is known as IAM. This is done via using some kind of a permissions, the R, read, write and read, these are the permissions, and how the permissions are written in the cloud, we will see this thing in just a second. But this is the basic concept of IAM, that means managing the accessibility of the respective identities available in the cloud. A straightforward nail on the head concept. Okay, so this is the thing, and you need to manage the permissions in the cloud by the permissions are written in the JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. You don't need to worry about the name JavaScript. That means you don't need to know the JavaScript over here, but still the permissions are written in the JSON format in the cloud. Okay. So now let's head up to the IAM service and let's see how the things are actually working in the cloud. Let's head up to the console over here. As you can see, you can see the respective recently visited services if you have any. If you have a new account, obviously you won't see this widget, right? But you can go into the services and you can check the name of the respective category, and accordingly you can go into the service. On the other hand, you can search the name of the service as well over here. Right now, I'm just checking with the IAM. So IAM, I'm tapping over here. So the description of this respective service is self-explanatory. That means manage the access to AWS resources. Clear? So click on this IAM over here. Okay. So right now, let's create a user in the cloud and let's see the power of the permissions, right? Let's see if the permissions are actually working or not, right? So after that, after this respective thing, we will learn one more concept regarding the cloud, right? So how the things are actually working behind the scenes in the cloud, right? But before that, let's see some hands-on part. So if you need to add the user in the cloud, right? By default, remember one thing, by default, there is one user, let's say when you are creating the AWS account, right? When you are creating the AWS account, there is a by default user available that is known as root user. Root means the administrator. If you have the Linux experience, obviously you understand this word root. By default, a root user will be there, and the other users are known as IAM users. The best practice over here is never ever use the root user. Why? We will see this thing in the later part. Only use the IAM users. And why behind the scenes, we will understand actually why I'm saying like this. But before jumping to the directly, let's say, to the IAM, right? I just need to explain you one more concept before just setting the user, right? So there is something that is known as AWS Global Infrastructure. AWS Global Infrastructure. Now, what is the meaning of AWS Global Infrastructure, right? So understand this thing. This is a very important concept for every cloud, right? There is something that is known as region. Let's say there is one box, okay? And in this box, we have some another small boxes, another small box, one box, another box, one more box over here, right? So this big box is known as region, REGION, region. And these small boxes are known as availability zones, AZ. Let me write this over here so that you can remember this thing, availability zones. Okay, region and the availability zones. And in the AWS, we have different regions available in the different parts of the world. In India, we have two regions right now. The one region is in Mumbai, and there is another region which is recently opened on, I think, 21st of November 2022, available in Hyderabad, HYD. Another regions are available, let's say in the Ireland or Seoul or US, whatever thing which we can think of. Different regions are available in the different parts of the world, and in this respective regions we have different availability zones as well, right? And in these availability zones we have data centers. That means where our data is available, right? Okay. So now the question arises over is, in the respective region, why we have different availability zones, right? That means think of a region like this, or the cluster of data centers, right? This is the one region, and different availability zones are available. So this is think of a cluster of the data centers is known as the region, right? So why we have different availability zones in one region, right? So think of like this. Let's say if due to some any X specific reason, like let's say tsunami or anything which we can think of, act of God, right? Anything happened in the world, right? One of the respective availability zone dropped. Let's say due to earthquake or whatever you can think of the drastic any circumstance, the respective region got dropped, right? but still we have three regions. Still, that means our data is safe, our application is online, our users will be able to access the application, right? That is why we have different availability zones in one region. And these respective availability zones are at least 100 miles away from each other. At least, right? That means if due to any X reason, one availability zone got dropped, another availability zone is still available. That means our application is still online, right? So this is the thing. This is the concept regarding the AWS global infrastructure. Let's see this thing in the AWS's website. Just a second. So if we will just Google HTTPS infrastructure.aws. Okay, AWS global infrastructure. You can see this thing over here, right? So in India, we have two regions. That means one is a region in the Mumbai, which is launched in 2016, where we have three availability zones. What is the meaning of local zone? You don't need to understand this thing right now. We have another region which is deployed in the November 2022, I think on the 21 or 22 of the date, available in the Hyderabad, right? Another parts of the world, we have different regions. Let's say in the uh, Ireland, we have in the Europe and Zurich, Milan, Spain. We have different regions available in the world. The blue ones are which are deployed, and the red ones which are coming soon. Let's say if we hover over the red one, let's say the Thailand with the region is coming soon, and over here which we have Melbourne, the region is coming soon, right? So why we have different regions, right? So let's say if your respective users are available, that means you have created a web application, let's say web app, right? And your respective users are mostly using or your application from India, let's say. Obviously, you need to deploy that respective application in the either Mumbai or Hyderabad region. Let's say if we use Mumbai region, most of the respective users are using your application from India country only. So obviously, they will directly access the application which is deployed in the Mumbai region. So the latency will be low. Low latency will be there, and accordingly, we can access the users can access the application. Let's say if you have deployed the application, let's say in the Europe, let's say obviously the data packets need to travel to the Europe, and they will be able to transfer the response back to the respective users. Some amount of increased latency will be there. There is something that is known as edge locations. We will not check this out, the character respective concept out right now, which will make you confused. But think of it like this. Let's say if you have deployed the application in the Europe, and most of the respective users are in India. So obviously, some amount of latency will be there in request and response. That is why different regions are available in the world to help the customers out to access the application or whatever the respective use cases, right? And the pricing varies region to region, and this is the transparent in the available, which is available in the AWS service pricing page, right? The main concern regarding the region and the availability zones is for the latency, right? Remember one more thing. This is the common interview question as well. In the regions, right? We have usually three availability zones, usually. But there is one number available. the minimum availability zone will be 2 and the maximum will be 3. Sorry, maximum will be 6. This is a common interview question as well. If you're just going for the, let's say, some cloud engineering interview or something like that, right? So most probably they will ask this question as well. But what is the maximum count for the availability zones in the cloud? That is 6, right? So the naming convention is like that. The name of the Mumbai region right now is AP South 1, AP hyphen South, sorry, AP stands for Asia Pacific, AP South 1. The name of the availability zones is AP South 1, AP South 1, A, AP South 1, let's say B and AP South 1, C. Right. So this is the basic concept available, right? So accordingly, we need to see. That means we have 3 availability zones in the Mumbai region. That means, and the naming convention is like this: AP South 1, A, B, and C. Right? I hope you all are getting the concept, whatever we are learning. Right? So let's move ahead with the different concepts. That means let's directly head up towards the IAM section, right? So this is the concept of region and availability zones. Now let's turn up the page again towards the IA, right? So this is the global infrastructure which we can see. This is the huge cloud. So 96 availability zones and 30 launched regions as well. Right. So let's move ahead to the IAM. Now let's see the power of permissions, right? So, okay, one more thing over here. There is some right now which you can see. Let's head up towards the EC2. I need to show you something, right? Don't worry what is EC2 is. I need to show you one concept regarding the AZ and the regions. Right now you can see I'm in the Mumbai region, right? If you can click on this, we have different regions available in the cloud. Let's say in the US East one, which is in the Northern Virginia, Ohio, Northern California, Oregon, US East 2. Right now I'm in Mumbai, AP South 1, Osaka, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, whatever things are. I need to activate this respective regions in my account, that is Hyderabad, Hong Kong, Cape Town, these respective uh, regions I need to activate. I haven't activated yet, no problem in that. So right now I'm in the Mumbai region, right? But if you'll just go towards the IAM service again, concentrate over here, right? Right now you can see it automatically turned to global. What is the meaning of this? IAM is the global service. Global means what? So, and let's say if you've created the users, or let's say you created the groups or anything, so that respective user and the groups are accessible in the whole AWS account. That means those respective users are not region scoped. Most of the services in the AWS cloud are region scoped. That means those respective resources are available on in the particular region only. Let's say if you deployed a resource A in the respective let's say in the Mumbai region, and this respective resource A will not be available in the another region, let's say Europe or US, whatever it is, right? Most of the services in the AWS cloud are region scoped, but IAM is the global service. That means the respective users are available in the whole AWS account, accessible, right? So this is the concept, that is global and the region scope thing. So now let's understand the power of the permission. So let's create a new user, right? Okay. So this is the some user just created. We will create this one. With this, let's create a complete new fresh user. Right. So if you need to add the user, click on this beautiful blue button, add users. Right. So right now we need to give some username. right? For our beloved new user. So let's give a name, let's say whatever you can think of, let's say Rohan, right? So next thing which we need to select the access type. Remember one thing, we can access the AWS cloud in different ways. That means we can access directly the AWS console, that means directly the web UI. That means right now which I am using. The another thing by which you can access the AWS cloud is using CLI, that means command and interface, SDK, software development kit, or some API calls as well. SDK, that means using Python, Java, whatever programming language which you're using, right? So we can access the cloud in different ways, right? Right now, this is known as programmatic access, and this is known as console access. I am creating the user right now for the easiness. Don't worry, we will see the CLI as well. But right now we are just starting, so I'm just creating a user with the console access, AWS Management Console access. We have the programmatic access as well. We will see this thing in just a couple of minutes. Right now we're just creating a new user, that is Rohan, with the console access only. All right. So the next sub part over is auto-generated password or the custom password. Okay. So this is the concept. Let's say if you've gone into the bank and you ask them to enable the net banking in your account, they will just give you an envelope with the uh, username and the password, right? So whenever you will log in at the very first time, right? So you need to change your password after the first login, right? So this is the uh, option over here. That means after the very first login, the user can change the password at the very first sign in. So this is the flexibility available as well, right? But I'm just giving some custom password over here. Okay. Right now, I'll just not change the password at the very first time. Okay, just a second. Okay. So I've just given the password. So test at the 123, right? So just click on the next permissions, right? So what you need to do is you just need to click on the attach existing policy directly. Right now, I'm just giving the administrator access right now. So this is the very bad practice. Never use the administrator access, but as we are just learning right now, okay? So I'm just giving the administrator access as of now, right? So you can click on this policy. If you need to read on the effect is allowed, action is whatever this is, we will learn the syntax of this respective policy as well. But right now, think of that I'm just giving the got developer permissions, right? Don't worry, we will learn the syntax of the policy as well. Click on next, add tags. What is the meaning of tag? Tag, let's say if we have something like that, let's say if this respective person is working in the DevOps department, cloud department, finance department, marketing department, whatever we can think of. That means key value pair. That means department, cloud, department, DevOps, department, X, whatever you can think of, right? So let's give it something like that. Let's say department, right? Let's say DevOps. All right, that means this respective person Rohan is working in the DevOps department. Click on review, right? You can review this respective thing. That means the username is this, console access, ABC, create user, right? So the user is created. What is the meaning of this respective CSV file, right? We will understand this thing when we will just create another user with the programmatic access. Click close this respective thing. The respective user Rohan is now created. Now let's play with this guy. Okay. Now let's see the power of the permissions. I just click on this respective user Rohan over here. Now, if you need to access, let's say if you need to log in with this respective user, right? So go to the security credentials and click on this console signing link, copy this respective link, and I'm just opening another browser over here. Let's paste this respective link over here and enter. I'm logging in with the newly created user, that is Rohan. And now let's analyze at how we can differentiate between the IAM user and the root user. So username was Rohan, the password was that. I have logged in. Okay. So now you can see the difference. See over here. Done, bro. So you can see Rohan at the rate my AWS account ID. But in the root user, you can see Ashutosh underscore 97. No at the rate or something like that. But in the IAM user, you can see username at the rate this respective AWS account ID. Clear? So this is the difference between the IAM user and the uh, root user. Now let's play with this guy. So let's say let's do something. So right now we have the administrator access. Obviously we have the root access, the god level access. So I can do anything. So let's go towards the IAM, right? And let's do something gibberish. I'll just create another user with this respective user Rohan, right? And let's see the power of permissions now. So go towards the users. This is the quick revision for you guys. Add users. Let's do something like that. Let's say test. I'm just giving the console access, custom password, whatever I can give off. Okay. Oh, this is again. Okay. I'm just creating a new user with the Rohan user, so I just need to show you something. I'm just adding some random policies. No tags required, nothing. Create user. So why I'm doing this, I just need to show you one thing over here. This respective user is created, test user is created by the Rohan user. Now the fun part begins. So let's retrieve the permissions from the Rohan. This guy is just overconfident now. So let's retrieve the permissions from the Rohan user and let's see how the things will work. So right now, again, I'm just back towards the root user, right? And let's say right now I'm just seeing the permission of Rohan, right? I'm just going to detach these respective permissions from the Rohan user and let's see how the things will behave. That means even the user Rohan will not be able to see my IAM users as well. Detach this. Detach. You can see there are no access permissions available with the Rohan user. And now let's move ahead with our beloved user Rohan. So if I just refresh this page, boom, you need permissions. That means you don't have the permissions to list the users out. That means I cannot read the users. We do not have permission for the list users. Oh man, this is the power of the permission. Okay, no problem. Let's not get too much harsh with the Rohan user. Okay, this is our beloved friend. So let's give some basic permissions to the Rohan user. Another common interview question coming up. Just allow me a second. Let's add permissions. Attach existing policy directly. Right now, I'm just going to give some read permissions to the Rohan. So IAM read only. Okay, click on. I'm just giving the read only access to the Rohan user. That means the respective user can only able to read the respective IAM users. Cannot create, delete, whatever which we can perform, but we can only see, review, add permissions, and this is done. So now again back towards the Rohan user, and let's refresh this page, and boom, we are able to see. Okay, but let's say, what if IAM is lying to us, right? What if IAM is lying to us, right? So what we can do is, let's create another user. Let's say right now I'm just logged in with the Rohan user. Remember this thing. Rohan has only read permissions. So let's create some gibberish. Obviously, this is not going to create auto generated, whatever whatever you can give. It doesn't really matter because obviously it won't get created. But I need to show you this thing. Review, create user. As you can see, unable to create because we do not have the IAM create user permissions. We have only read access. Understood? So this is the power of the permission, right? So cancel this out. Okay, no problem in that. What if we can delete? Let's delete this test user. Delete. Click on this test. Sorry about my throat. Copy. Test this out. Sorry, paste this out. And boom. Test not deleted because we do not have to delete login profile permissions. Okay, so this is the power of permissions. I hope you are enjoying this, right? So now what we need to do over here, right? So what is the thing which we can perform, right? So right now, we have seen the power of permissions in this, right? So accordingly, we can see that how the things are actually working with the IAM. I hope you're getting the concept, right? So this is the power of the IAM thing. Now another common interview question arises over here. That is why this workshop is important. That we are also just giving you some interview tips as well in this respective workshop, right? So there is something that is known as, that means you have already understood the concept pay as you go, right? There is something that is known as least privilege principle. Privilege principle. What is the meaning of least privilege principle? Common interview question. Least privilege principle means, that means give the amount of permissions which are required only. Okay, that simply means, let's say if I want the user A to only read from the file, my handwriting is really bad, read from the file, right? That means I don't want the user A to write or modify the data. I want only read. So I will just give the user A to read only. I'll not provide the write and the modified permission to the respective user A. This is the concept of least privilege principle. Give those permissions which are required to complete the use case. That is completely it. Directly, if you are sitting in the cloud engineering interview or any DevOps interview, in the DevOps as well, obviously they will ask you the concepts of cloud as well as the programming. Surely, if they are focused toward the security, they will ask the concept, what is the meaning of least privilege principle? You can give this example. Give whatever is required to perform the respective use case. Right? Understood? So I hope you are enjoying this. And now let's move ahead with the another concept that is known as groups. Another common interview question will be popped up in this concept, right? So let's say if you have created a group that is known as, let's say, DevOps group, the engineers, DevOps engineers over here. Let's say you have created another group, let's say for the UI UX designing group. Okay, two groups, DevOps and UI UX. Okay, so we have, let's say, in the DevOps group, this is the UI UX group. Let's say if we have user A in this, user B in this, user C in this. In the UI UX, we have, let's say, D, E, F users in this. Let's say. Okay. So remember one thing. If you have given some permissions to the group, let's say we have given the permissions, permission 1 to the DevOps group, permission 2 to the UI UX group. We will see this thing in the hands-on part as well. Just bear with me. Okay. Remember this thing, the permissions will be automatically inherited by the respective users. The permission 1 will be attached to the user A, user B, and user C as well. The permission 2 automatically will be attached to the user D, user E, and the user F. Let's say in this thing, user C has the permission, let's say permission number 3. Remember this thing, this will be automatically available in this as well. This will not be removed. Let's say they have just some dispute in between. The B and C are just just fighting for some concept or some issue. The C is kicked out of the group. Remember this thing, automatically the respective group permission will be detached. So right now the user C don't have the permission number 1, but the inline permission which this respective user C has is still available with this. We will see this thing in the SST in the hands-on part right now. One respective user can be available in the multiple groups. Let's say if we have user M, this respective user can be available in the UIOS group as well and the DevOps group as well. Right? This is the thing. Let's see this thing in the hands-on. Move ahead. Click on the groups, user groups. Okay. So, oh man, already DevOps group is created. Let's read this. So, DevOps, copy, paste. Okay. Create a new fresh group. Create group. Right. And let's say I'll just name this group, let's say Cloud Engineers. Cloud. Okay. So now I just need to add the user, that is, let's say Rohan user I need to add. Okay. And let's click go down, and I'll just attach some random policy to the group level. Remember this thing, group level I'm attaching. Let's attach this Amazon RDS full access. What is the RDS? We are not going to cover, but still I'm just attaching some random permission and I'm adding the user Rohan in this respective group. Okay, I'll just open the users tab as well just to prove you that the respective permission will be inherited by the group level. Click on the Rohan user. If I just go towards the permissions, you can see we have only IAM read only, nothing else, right? I have just added the I'm just adding the Rohan user in the group, that is Cloud Engineers, and I'm just giving the group level policy Amazon RDS full access. Create the group. The group is created. User Rohan is added in this respective group, and we have some another permission, that is Amazon RDS full access on this respective group right now. So if I just go towards the Rohan user again and refresh this page, we can see the permissions. Attached, the permissions which are attached directly is IAM read only access, and which are attached from the group, this is Amazon RDS full access, which is coming from the group Cloud Engineers. Cool, right? So I hope you understood the concept of the uh, permission inheritance from the group level. Understood? So I hope you're enjoying this thing, and this is another common interview question, that are the respective permissions are inherited from the group level? The answer is yes. You can explain this concept to the interviewer, so this will give the good impression on the interviewer as well, and the positive sign. That is why we are just checking on the common interview question and the scenarios as well in this workshop. So the you will be somewhat ready to just kick off some common questions. We have covered pay as you go, we have covered least privilege principle, we have covered the group level inheritance. Three concepts are completely prepared for the IAM side. We will see this in we will see great and common interview question in the EC2 section as well, and load balancer section as well. So I hope you're enjoying this thing. So basically, right now, this is the concept of the IAM, the groups, and the user level. Now let's understand the concept of the permissions. You've seen me that some gibberish, rubbish, JSON things which are written, and what those respective things are actually saying, and what is the core meaning of the respective IAM policy. Okay, so let's understand the IAM policy in depth. Okay, bear with me. Uh, let's start something like this. Let's say we have created a group, or let's say we have created a user. Okay, the respective user or a group are assigned some JSON documents called policies. Okay, are assigned some JSON documents or some technically known as policies. These respective policies are in these respective policies we have defined some permissions for the respective group or the respective user. Okay, so let's break the syntax of the permissions right now. Right, so how the respective permission, the syntax is going to get baked. Let's understand this thing in this flow. Right, so we right now I'm just going to tell you some step-by-step concepts for the IAM permissions. If you will understand this concept now, you will never ever confuse in the IAM ever, specifically in the permissions, specifically in reading the permissions. Remember this thing. There is something that is known as version number. Don't worry, we will see this thing in the real IAM policy as well. Right now, I'm just breaking and I'm trying to make you understand the respective flow. Okay, version number and version number. Technically, most of the time, the version number is 2012 hyphen 10 hyphen 17. Most of the time, we can see this respective version number. What is the meaning of version number? You don't need to understand this thing right now, but we have some common numbers. The second thing is ID. You don't need to remember this thing. Third thing and the most important thing is statement. Right? The statement, remember this thing, this respective statement is an array or a list. Okay, if you're a C++ Java programmer, you know array, or if you're a Python programmer, you know list. Okay, we have something that is known as statement, right? Which can have multiple amount of data in a form of an array. Let's break the statement out. Okay, in the statement, we have something that is known as statement ID or SID, which is completely optional. Bear with me, we will see the real policy as well. On the another hand, we have something that is known as effect. Effect simply means that means the respective operation is allowed or denied. Let's say I just want a respective user to not to read from a file. That means I will deny. If I want to allow, that means I'll just write allow. Okay. And fact is allow or deny. The next part is principle. Principle means on which specific role or for with specific user which you are granting the permission to. What is the meaning of role? We will see this thing in the later part. Right? The respective principle, that means on which respective user which you're targeting. Let's say I've created a user that is known as user Ashish. Let's say I just want the Ashish user to access my bucket. That means I will just allow the Ashish user to access my bucket. What is the meaning of bucket? We will see this thing in the later section. That means principle means for the specific user or a specific role. Now another part is action, and the action is another a list or an array. Okay, that means let's say I can give the permissions for the get, put, delete, whatever I can give. Right? Another some respective list. The another thing over here is the resource. On which respective resource? Let's say I've created some EC2 instance of whatever I can just give. Their respective resource name will be given over here. Don't worry, we will understand this thing in a complete flow. Right now, I'm just trying to make you understand the breakdown. Last thing that is which is completely optional, that is known as condition. Condition which is completely optional. Condition means what? Let's say some respective user is matching the criteria, right? Let's say the conditions is when the policy is in effect, right? That means let's say I can just give, let's say if the for the respective user Ashish only, I can give the respective permission. For the, let's say if we have some user that is known as Bhuvan, that respective permission is not applicable. So this is something which is optional, right? So right now let's see some real policy. So how so that we can completely sync up with this, right? So let's Google some easy policy. Let's say AWS S3 list bucket policy. What is the meaning of list bucket? What is S3? You will see this thing, but still, this is the most simple policy to understand, and we will sync up with this whatever I just given you the concepts, right? So if you can scroll down, we can see. Let's copy this out. Okay, let's move ahead with this thing. Paste it. Okay, let's understand this thing. Let's sync up now. Okay, so we have, sorry about my thought again. We have version number, as I said, it is completely correct. ID, which is not available over here, no problem in that. In the statement, which we have an array with the, you can see the bracket is opening over here and the bracket is closing over here, right? On the other hand, we have something that is known as action, sorry, SID, which is optional. We have given some statement ID over here. This is something which is can be given accordingly according to the use case. Effect over here is allowed. For the principal, we have different IAM users. Okay, and the action again an array over here. You can see put object and a put object ACL, right? You don't need to worry about what actually this is saying, but you can see these are some respective actions which we can perform. The resource is this respective S3 bucket. What is the meaning of S3 bucket? Don't need to worry about that. Some resource is this. Condition is not given, right? So this is the break. Let's see another policy. If you're still getting confused, let's move ahead again in the documentation. Scroll down, copy this out, go ahead and paint and open some and do this. Okay, paste it up. Okay, let's sync up again. Version, version, version. Statement, an array again. uh, Statement ID, effect is allowed. For every respective user or role, these respective actions are allowed on this respective S3 bucket. Right? There's no condition. Obviously, the condition is completely optional. Right? So I hope you are understanding the concept. I hope you will never get confused again in the IAM. Right? I hope the things are getting synced up right now. Right? Version number, statement, statement ID, effect, principal, action. For the respective principal, user or role, for everyone is allowed. Action is again an array which I already taught. It means get object or get object version. These respective actions are allowed. What is the meaning of this? Don't need to understand the meaning, but think of like that these respective actions are allowed on this respective resource. Okay, so I hope the things are getting synced up, and I hope you will not get confused again or anytime in reading some specific IAM policy. Right? Last concept of IAM, right? The last concept of IAM that is known as, sorry, the second last, something that is known as MFA. Right? What is the meaning of MFA? MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. Let's say if you're logged in into the AWS account, okay? Right now, what you need to do is, let's say if there is user that is known as user, let's say user A, The user A has given the password. Now there is something that is known as some MFA device or something like that, where you will get some kind of an OTP or one-time password, right? And that respective OTP you need to enter, and after that you will be able to successfully log in. That means users have access to your AWS account. That means, let's say if you have given access to some specific user, right? They will not be able to log in until you will approve. That means you can protect your account by this extra layer of security. That means the password which you have plus some MFA device, right? So different MFA devices are available in the market. Let's say if you have some virtual MFA device, let's say some Google Authenticator, or there is another application available that is known as Authy, or if you have some type of a physical UB key by which you can attach in your hardware, or that means that respective UB key will generate a some string of numbers or some random string. That respective UB key can be used as an MFA device. This is another common interview question. What is the meaning of MFA? Multi-factor authentication, right? So let's understand another basic concept for the IAM, right? In the next part, we will directly start with the EC2, right? So let's head up for the newer concept that is known as IAM roles. Role means what? Remember something like this. Let's say if you have some respective EC2 instance, what is EC2? We will understand. Right now, we will not perform the hands-on for the roles. You will get confused, right? So this respective EC2 instance need to perform any respective operation on your behalf, right? So you need to attach some specific role to this instance, and in this specific role you have given the permissions, and this instance will be able to perform the operation. There are some common EC2 roles, IAM roles available. Let's say for EC2, for Lambda, for a CloudFormation, whatever you can think of. But most of the use cases are for EC2. Right now, we are not going to perform any hands-on for this because you will get confused at what is the meaning of EC2 over here. EC2 is in the next part. Remember this thing, something like that. If we have any specific service, this respective service need to perform any action. So you need to attach something that is known as IAM role on this service with the correct permissions, and this respective service will be able to, let's say, talk to the another service, let's say, in a very straightforward manner. This is the concept of IAM role. Basic concept, nail on the head. Okay, so I think this is the enough for understanding the IAM right now. Right? We have covered users, groups, policies, roles, security, and how the basic concept of least privilege principle and understanding the flow of the security as well. I hope the IAM section is clear. Right? We have covered a lot in in the IAM section, right? So now let's head up towards the very fun part that is known as second part, that is known as EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. That means we are going to launch our virtual machines in the cloud. That means real machine, real computer will be deployed in the cloud. You will be able to access that respective machine as well, right? So EC2 is one of the most popular AWS offering. This respective service is defined under IaaS, or infrastructure as a service. In this respective service, what we can do is we can rent the machines from the AWS cloud. That means we can rent out the machines. We can use the storage that is known as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. We can use the load balancers. We can use the auto scaling groups as well, ASG. We will understand these concepts in the later part. This is the most fundamental service of the AWS Cloud. This is the exact same service which is available in the Google Cloud Platform for that is known as Compute Engine, if you are familiar with the GCP. Right? In the AWS Cloud, we call it EC2. That is known as Elastic Compute Cloud. This is the IaaS service, that is Infrastructure as a Cloud. In this thing, what we can do is we can choose our beloved operating system, RAM, CPU, network, whatever we can think of, and accordingly we can use that respective machine in the cloud. Right? So now let's directly head up to the hands-on and let's see the fun part. So let's head up towards the AWS Cloud again, right? Go towards the AWS. Search for the EC2. You can see virtual servers in the cloud, right? Click on this EC2. Right now, there are no assets respective instances which are running. Okay. So I need to start a virtual machine, right? So click on this launch instances over here. So let's break the flow, right? Let's break the flow of the launch instance configuration. The very first part over here is to select the respective AMI. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. That means which respective machine type which you need to launch. Let's say you need to launch Linux. Let's say if you need to launch a Mac virtual machine. Let's say we need to launch a Windows virtual machine. Right? In the Linux we have Red Hat, CentOS, SUSE, Ubuntu. Okay. Mac we have Real Mac. Windows we have Windows. Let's say 2012 SQL Server, 2018, 19 base, whatever you can think of. AMI. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. This is the very first thing which you need to choose. Right? So let's head up to the console. Right? Let's name this, let's say, my first instance. Okay. The next thing is choosing the operating system or the Amazon Machine Image. Right? So I'm going to select the Amazon Linux. Right now I'm just selecting the Amazon Linux 2 free tier eligible. So before directly starting, let's go ahead with understanding the Amazon free tier. So AWS free tier. Search on this, right? We go towards AWS free tier, which is offered by AWS Cloud. Go down. For the compute, we have 750 hours free for Amazon EC2, but for the T2 micro instance only, or T3 micro. For the Amazon S3, that is storage, we have 5 GB of storage free. Amazon RDS, we have 750 hours of free for managed MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, SQL service. DynamoDB, don't need to understand this thing, Lambda, SageMaker, and you can scroll down accordingly. What is the meaning of SNS, Redshift? We are not going to cover. AWS OpenSearch, one of my favorite services in the AWS Cloud. Right? So if we can just scroll up, we have Amazon EC2, 750 hours are free, but only for the T2 micro or T3 micro type of instances. We have huge amount of different instances available in the cloud. But right now, if you need to check which different types of instances are available, right now I'm just selecting the T2 micro, right? So I'm just selecting the Amazon Linux 2, free tier eligible. Scroll down. We have another that we need to check the instance type. Right now I'm selecting T2 micro, which is free tier eligible. We have one virtual CPU and 1 GB of memory. If you need some monster type of instance, we can scroll down. Let's check in the random instance. Let's say if we need to check M5.48 or 4x large, we have 16 virtual CPUs, 64 GB of memory. Man, more big thing. Let's say M6i.24x large, 96 virtual CPUs, 384 GB of memory. high network performance, high throughput, tremendous power, right? But obviously this will cost a lot of money. Scroll down. Let's say if we want this R5 and or 8x large, 32 virtual CPUs, 256 GB of memory. Huge amount. It will cost us. Okay. Any X different. Oh man, we can see this depression name. 96 virtual CPUs, 1536 GIB of memory. Oh man, we can just install GTA 5 in a second. In this, right? So, let's move ahead with the T2 micro game. One virtual CPU and one GFS memory. Okay, so right now we have selected the instance type. The second part is selecting the instance type. The third thing over here is we need to select something that is known as key pair. What is the meaning of key pair? That means how you're going to SSH into the machine. I'm not going to explain SSH over here. Obviously, if you are in the AWS Cloud class, this is the basic networking concept which you need to know. Right now, I'm not going to explain what is the meaning of SSH and what is the meaning of key pair. Right? Just I'm going to explain that let's just for the 10,000 feet overview. Key pair is used. That means we have something that is known as private key and the public key, which is used in the concept of SSH to access the respective machine. Right? This is a thing which we need to understand. Right now, I'm not going to explain any concept regarding the key pair. Other than this, so I'm going to create a new key pair or a type RSA. Let's say first instance. RSA type key pair. The format will be .pem. Using this respective key pair, we will be able to SSH into our instance. Create the key pair. Right? We have created the key pair. That is first instance. Network settings. Right now, we need to select in which respective availability zone which we need to deploy. Right now, I'm in the Mumbai region. We can click on edit over here, right? We can select, we have 3 availability zones available in the Mumbai, AP South 1C, 1A, 1B. Right now, I'm going to deploy the machine in AP South 1A, right? The next part is security group. What is the meaning of security group? Right now, I'm just going to explain in just a second. Right now, I'm just creating a fresh security group. Think this respective security group as a firewall, but I'm going to explain the security group in very detail. Just allow me a second, right? So let's say instance security group, right? So I'm just allowing some rules in this. What is the meaning of rules? We will just understand this thing in just a second, right? So I'm just selecting my IP over here. This I can only SSH into this respective instance. I don't want any additional configurations, right? So let's click on launch instance. In the meantime, this is launching. Let's understand the concept of the security groups, right? So the next thing over here is just to select the network configurations, and then you need to select the SG, and then accordingly you can configure if you have any additional configurations, right? And the instance will be launched. What is the meaning? Which respective additional configurations are required? We will understand this thing in the later part. But now let's understand the concept of security groups. So let's think of like this. You're just going into someone's marriage, right? And let's say the respective person who is getting married has given you the card of the marriage function, obviously, right? So there's one security guard over here. This respective security guard will check if you have the marriage function card. Okay. So this is after that the security guard will check the card. If you have the card for the marriage function, you will be able to enter. So this is the rule which is just instructed by the owner who's getting married today, right? Just to check the card. If they don't have the card, let's say if another user which is coming up is don't have the card, right? This respective user will not be able to enter into the marriage function. right? So this is the 10,000 feet overview for the concept of the security groups, right? So let's say if they have the card, they will be able to enter into the manage function. If they don't have the card, they will not be able to enter into the manage function, right? So this is some kind of a firewall in between, which is stopping the traffic accordingly if they have the permissions or if they don't have the respective permissions to enter, right? So right now I have only allowed my IP, the internet service provider, which right now I'm connected, the my only my IP will be able to access my instance. That means only I will be able to SSH onto the respective instance. So there is something that is known as inbound rules. Inbound rules, that means who is able to come inside into the respective instance, what operations they will be able to perform. That means they will be able to SSH or be able to access the HTTP port which is running on port 80, whatever, inbound. And there's something that is known as outbound rules. That means the traffic which is going outside of the instance, right? That means the traffic which is going outside. Inbound rules, the traffic which is coming inside. Outbound for the traffic which is going outside of the respective instance. We will see the security group in the hands-on as well. We will see the power of security groups in just a second. Right now, let's see if our instance is launched or not. So if I just go over here, you can see my instance is now in the running state, right? So right now, if I need to access this respective instance or this respective machine, how I'm going to access this machine right now, right? So I need to SSH into this respective machine, correct? So there is a syntax of the SSH command. That means SSH, you need to write like this, -I, right? -I means that means the respective key pair which you need to give, right? The key pair name, oh man, just a key pair name, and the username available on the EC2 instance, right? In this case, we have EC2 user, EC2-user at the rate public IP of the instance. Public IP of the respective instance. This is the syntax, right? It means SSH-I, the key pair name, and the username of the instance, the user which is running on the EC2 instance, at the rate the public IP of the instance. Right? So this is the basic concept, and this is the basic syntax to perform the SSH on the instance. Right? So if I just head up towards the over here, so there's another common interview question which is coming up. Bear with me, right? So let's head up towards my downloads folder. Right? Over here, I can see first instance of PAN. I'm just going to open the command line over here, cmd, right? So SSH-I first instance PAN EC2-user at the rate the public IP of my instance. So this is asking, are you trusting the respective machine? I can say yes. I am right now into the EC2 instance. Boom. Right now I'm able to access this respective Linux machine. I can perform ls or whatever. I can do, let's say echo, let's say hello world. This is printing. Right now I can able to access my running instance over the cloud. There's another way by which you can access the cloud or the respective instance. There is something that is known as AWS EC2 Instance Connect. Right? Another interview question is hitting up over here, right? So this is a little bit advanced. So in this thing, what we need to do is, right now I have just used my key pair to log in. Right now in the SSH, I have used the key pair to log in, right? But in the EC2 Instance Connect, I don't need to use a key pair. The Instance Connect will generate some temporary key just for 60 seconds so that I can directly SSH into my instance directly, right? So let's see this thing in action and how the SSH Instance Connect is working, right? So let's see. Click on this connect button over here. I'm right now in the EC2 Instance Connect button. Right now, click on connect. Let's see the magic over here. Let's wait for it to establish the connection. Right now, you can see I just got the error. That means I am not able to connect to this respective instance, right? So why? Why I am not able to connect to this respective instance? This is the question. So as I have already conveyed, the AWS EC2 Instance Connect is not using the key pair. This respective concept is not using the key pair. So how we are going to log in? So there are some defined CIDR ranges, defined IPs. There are some defined IPs for the AWS Instance Connect, which you can use, which you can give into the security group of this respective instance. And after that, if you are coming from that respective CIDR range, right, let's say if you are just, let's say if I have the, let's say if I have the IP 1234, let's say, right, and this respective IP is defined in the inventory of the Instance Connect, I will be able to access the EC2 instance via AWS Instance Connect. That means from some defined IPs, you need to join the Instance Connect. Otherwise, you will not be able to access. And these respective IPs or the CIDRs are available according to the region, right? So this is a pretty advanced concept. So if you just search AWS Instance Connect IP range, right? So what you can do is you can just scroll down and you can find this GitHub link over here. So right now I'm in the Mumbai region. So just Control F, AP hyphen AP South 1. Right now, this is the respective CIDR which is required to use the Instance Connect. Copy this out, right? So go over here, go towards the security group. Right now, my security group is only allowing my IP. That is why I'm not able to access the instance. So if I just scroll up and click on the security groups over here, I did the inbound rules, and if I just remove this respective IP and paste that respective IP which is given in the documentation, click on this, okay, SSH from this respective IP, save the rules, Instance Connect, refresh this. Now you can see I'm able to access the instance. This is the another common interview question, that how you can access the instance via AWS Instance Connect, where most of the candidate lags because they don't know this concept. That from specific IP range, you need to hit the AWS Instance Connect, right? So this is the thing which you need to remember. Now let's create some application on this respective instance to access. You will be able to access this respective application as well, right? So now let's install a software. Let's say sudo yum install httpd -y. I don't want any kind of a noise, so I'm just sending the data towards a null file. Okay. 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 I've installed HTTPD, that means the web server, and started the service. And let's do send some data. This is coming from EC2. You are www/html/index.html. So I'm just creating one file that is known as index.html in the var www.html directory, and where data available is, this is coming from EC2. Click on this, right? So let's see if we are able to access this application in the browser, right? So I'm just going towards the instance over here. Click on this, copy the public IP address, open an incognito tab, paste this out. As you can see right now, this is loading, and loading. Obviously, this is going to time out. So why this is not working? If we have just installed the application, everything is done. So why we are not able to access the application, right? So this is because in the security group, we haven't opened the port to access the HTTP application. So you need to add a rule, right? So for the HTTP, which works on port number 80, I want anywhere, that means anyone can access this respective application, save the rules, right? So if I can just again go towards the my instance, this particular instance is running, my first instance, copy the public IP address, open the new incognito tab for the caches. As you can see, this is coming from EC2. Our first respective web server is working, right? So you can also access this respective IP, and you can obviously uh, use this to respective access the respective application, right? You can use this respective IP if you want to check if you are able to access the respective application or not, right? So the IP is 43.205.98.231. You can check this out at your end if this is working on, right? Obviously, this is work because this is open to all. That means the CIDR range is set to 000. What is the meaning of CIDR range? I'm not going to explain because this is some concept which is more inclined towards the networking side, right? So let's close this out. We have just created our first web server on this respective machine, right? So this is the thing which you need to learn right now. So if I just again go towards the security group here, right? Added one rules. If I just delete this respective rule, save the rules, right? And let's again try to access the application. As you can see, it is going to get timed out because we've deleted the respective rule and we are not able to access the application, right? So this is the thing. This is the basic concept which you need to remember, right? So how the security groups are actually working in this case, in this scenario, right? So I hope the things are syncing up with the EC2, right? So now let's head up towards some newer concept that how you can perform some automation at the EC2 level, right? So another common interview question, that is what is the meaning of bootstrapping? Bootstrapping means what? This is another common interview question, which is commonly asked in the cloud interviews or either in the DevOps interviews as well. Bootstrapping. Bootstrapping means what? Let's say if you have an EC2 instance, right? And this respective instance is booting up. That means this respective instance is starting, right? So what you can do is you can give some specific script to this respective instance to execute during the boot time. Let's say I just want to install some software, configure some details or whatever the things are. I can give some type of a shell script to this respective instance, and this respective script will be executed during the boot time, right? And here, let's say I've installed a software or configured something or whatever the things are, right? So those respective operations will be handled during the boot time, and after your instance is booted, the respective instance is completely ready according to the script or data which you have given to the respective instance, right? So this is the concept of bootstrapping, and this data which you are giving to the respective instance is known as user data, right? So let's check this out. I'm just going to terminate this instance, because instance said terminate this instance, terminate, and that means I'm deleting this instance. Remember one thing, after using any specific resource, please terminate or delete that specific resource, or otherwise you'll get built, right? So right now I'm just going to launch one more fresh instance over here. So click on launch instances. So my second, I need to show you something. I need my second instance, right? Amazon S2, the things are fine. T2 micro, key pair, I'm just going to choose the first instance key pair, right? Because I have this select existing security group. Mm, instance of an SG is the one, okay. 7 C by 8C. This one. So I selected the existing security group. Right now you can see the advanced details we are thinking that is known as user data. Right now I'm not giving anything over here, right? Because I'm going to show you something that how the things are actually working without and with the user data, right? So let's go at the effort level first. Networking, added this subnet. This is the quick revision for you guys. I'm just selecting this respective availability zone. Scroll down, launch instance. Success. Click on here. This respective instance is now launched. So I'm just going to modify security group a little bit because I don't want to connect via AWS Instance Connect. Edit the more rules. Delete custom my IP as such rules. Okay. So EC2 instances over here. This respective instance is now running. Click on this, copy the public IP, come over here. The pipeline is break down because the respective instance is deleted. So over here, yes. Okay, right now I'm into the EC2 instance. So how can I cross verify that the instance, that means the respective software is not available in this respective instance, right? So how can I cross verify this thing, right? So I can execute a command. Let's say if I want to check if the respective HTTP software is available in this respective machine or not, right? So I can execute a command http rpm -q http or sudo, which I can use rpm-q. The package HTTP is not installed. Let's check for PHP. This respective PHP package is not installed, right? So let's check if they have the PHP available in the repository. Sudo yum list graph. So they have the PHP available in this respective EC2 instance, right? PHP. This respective 5.4 version of PHP is available, right? So what I can do is I can just install the respective software and create the web server in my EC2 instance via automation. That means by using bootstrapping, right? So let's create a third instance, launch instance, my third instance. This is third instance, Amazon Linux 2. Go down, T2 micro, the things are fine. For the key pair, I'm just going to select the first instance key pair, right? So there's this git group instance have an SG, right? Go down. Right now, I'm just going to perform some automation over here in the user data section in the advanced. So I just need to write some shell script over here. So this is the one. So bin bash. So obviously some Linux experience is required because working with AWS Cloud. So I'm not going to explain what is meant by bin bash. So as I've already said that the user data is executed by the root user on the EC2 instance. So you don't need to use the sudo at the backend, right? So yum update, okay, -y, okay. So yum install httpd -y, right? System, I'm going to start the service systemctl start http, okay, and I'm going to enable this respective service so that it can process the reboots as well. Systemctl enable httpd. Okay, so I'm just going to write some content. Echo this is the machine with the private IP. So I'm just going to print the private IP, the host name. This is a variable, host name -f. And it's going to send the respective data into the /var /www/html/index.html. Okay, let's check this out. Yum update bin bash yum update -y yum install httpd -y systemctl start httpd enable httpd echo is the machine the private IP. This is sending this data to var www index.html. Okay, so let's use this out and launch this. So the instance is now launching. We just need to wait a little bit for this instance to get launched completely. Let's wait for this respective instance to get completely boot up. Let's check the security group. I don't remember that we have just given the port number 80 access. So if I can just click on edit and bound rules, add the rule custom TCP, HTTP, sorry, TCP, port number 80, and from anywhere IPv4. Save the rules. Okay, so click on go on instances. My go towards my third instance. We'll copy the public IP address. Okay, the script is now just executing. Just let's just wait. Okay, this is working now. We can just click on Control and plus. You can see the machine with the private IP. This is working. That means this respective instance is bootstrapped with the respective script which we have given. This is the power of bootstrapping, right? So this is the again the common interrogation that what is the meaning of the bootstrapping or the user data in the AWS cloud, right? So this is the basic things which you need to remember before going into the interview, because obviously they can help the users. That means, let's say, the interviewer, let's say they will just you have the good knowledge, that means in-depth knowledge for the cloud, right? So now I hope you are understanding the concepts in means the in the better way. That means how the things are actually working behind the scenes, right? What's the meaning of bootstrapping and everything, right? So now let's again head up to the newer concept of the cloud, right? So right now we're just going to start with the concept that is known as Hibernate. What is the basic and the meaning of the Hibernate, right? So now let's head up towards the Hibernate theoretical concept. So what is the meaning of the Hibernate? EC2 Hibernate. Hibernate means what? Let's say you don't need to stop the respective instance. Let's say if we have this respective instance running, right? And we some respective processes are running on this respective instance, right? So what we can do is we can just wrap these processes out, right? We can just wrap these respective processes out, right? And we can copy this respective processes, right, to the RAM, the RAM which is available, and we can just wrap this respective processes and with this respective data which is available on the RAM directly. The respective process will be copied to the attached hard disk. Remember this thing: this respective hard disk should be encrypted. That means running processes over the RAM will be copied over the hard disk. The hard disk should be encrypted, and after you will just start the instance again, this respective data again will be copied over the RAM. This is the concept of EC2 Hibernate. You cannot hibernate the instance more than 60 days. Remember this thing. This is supported only for some specific instances only, right? Let's test it out for the T2 micro. So remember one thing: the respective is the attached hard disk should be encrypted to use the Hibernate, right? So let's head up towards the EC2 instance and let's see the power of hibernation. Go over here and just going to terminate these instances, right? Instance state, terminate, terminate, right? Click on launch instance, right? Name, let's say my fourth instance. Scroll down, you can see over here, T2 micro, keep here, uh, first instance, keep here, right? Network settings. I'm just going to again select the respective subnet, the respective availability zone, existing security group, instance, SG, okay, configurations, and if we can just scroll down, we need to check for the EBS over here. This UI is completely changed, and accordingly, I need to select storage. Root volume is not included. Click on advanced. uh, you need to encrypt this respective volume, right? And with the default KMS key, what is the meaning of KMS? You need to understand this right now, but KMS stands for Key Management Service. That means this respective service will be managing your keys. That means the private or public keys. Sorry, private keys, right? But you need to understand KMS in the greater level. Right now, just remember one thing: we're just encrypting our volume, right? So go down, and we don't need to add any kind of additional details. So launch instance. The instance is now launched. Go over here. The fourth instance is now launching. Let's wait for this instance to get launched. Okay, so this respective instance is now launched or running, right? So now let's check this out, that how the hibernation is actually working. So how the hibernation is working under the practical scenarios. So click on this, and we're just going to access it into the respective instance again. Yes, here. Okay. So right now I'm just going to uh, execute a Linux command. It is known as uptime. Right. Right now you can see the uptime is 1 minute for one respective user. Okay. So just what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hibernate this instance state. Okay. So okay, this the hibernate option is not available. Just a second. I just encrypted the volume as well. Mm, just a second. So instance state, we should see the hibernate over here. We go towards the storage. We have the block devices. This is encrypted as well. Delete information. Just allow me a second. So in this thing, so we have just created the respective instance over here, and hibernate to work over here. Just a second. So we have done the storage is encrypted. This thing is only required. So the Hibernate instance is not populating. Just allow me a second. I'm just investigating uh, that maybe some forget the UI or something. But this should work. Just a second. Let's relaunch an instance. Advanced details. Let's cross verify if we have something left. Okay. Okay. So we need to select the Hibernate behavior as well. No problem. Let's launch another instance. Okay. I'm just going to terminate the fourth instance again. Instance state, terminate, terminate. Okay. So launch instance again. I'm just launching a new instance. Let's say my fifth instance. Okay. T2 macro, the things are fine. Key pair should be first instance key pair. Go down. Instance security group. Instance SG. Okay. Go down. Advanced details. We just need to enable the Hibernate, and we need to encrypt the volume as well. Network configuration storage advanced. Volume over here, we just need to encrypt. So why we are just encrypting the volume? Just because we just need to copy the data which is available over the RAM to the respective attached EBS volume. So that is why we just need to encrypt the respective volume which is attached to the respective instance, right? So which is that is why, so the respective data will be secured, and from a respective KMS key only, right? That respective data can be will be available to read, right? So that is why we just need to encrypt the respective volume. So this is another common interview question, that do we need to encrypt the volume when we are just using the Hibernate, right? So if you just go to the Hibernate, you can see to enable hibernation, the root volume store instance RAM, make sure the root volume is large enough and encrypted. That means to use hibernation, root volume is encrypted, EBS volume, right? So we are encrypted the same. We can just go up. We can say encrypted using this respective KMS key launch instance. Let's wait for this instance to get launched up. Okay, this respective instance is now running. So I hope the hibernation will work now, right? So let's head up towards inside EC2 instance. Click on my first instance, fifth instance, sorry. Close this out, right? Copy the public IP address for SSH from the instance. Yes. Okay, so let's execute the command of time. Okay, so you can see 0 minutes and 1 user. So if I can just click on instance state and hibernate the instance. So hibernate, I'm just hibernating the hibernate. Instance is not ready yet. Okay, let's wait for just few more minutes. The instance check is initializing. We just need to wait for 1 to 2 minutes only. Okay, the health checks are passed. So if I can just click on this, right, and click on instance state and hibernate instance, hibernate. Okay, this is still not ready. Refresh. Let's wait for another minute so that this is ready instance will be in the ready state, right? I'm just waiting for at least 30 seconds for that instance will be available in the ready state so that we can just have an this ready instance. The uptime command will tell us since when the respective machine is running, right? So if we just hibernate the instance and again restart the respective instance, the respective uptime will be started from the respective cutoff only. Right? That means we don't need to check on. That means we don't need to start the things again from the starting. So let's instance state, hibernate. Okay, this respective instance is successfully hibernated, thank God. So let's just wait for this instance. You can see the respective instance is stopping, right? So let's wait for this instance to get completely stopped. And after, let's say 1 or 2 minutes, I'll just start this respective instance again. And let's see how the respective instance will behave. As you can see, the respective instance is stopped, right? So I'm just going to wait for another minute so that the respective instance, that uptime will get updated. So we don't need to uh, wait, right? That means we can see the changes. Right? Let's wait for another minute over here. I hope you're getting the concepts, and we have learned a lot in the EC2. That means how the EC2 is actually working, the user data bootstrapping, and we have also covered the concepts and the basic interview questions which are being asked in the cloud engineering and the DevOps interviews as well. So if I'm just going to go to the fifth instance state, and let's start the instance again. This respective instance is now starting. Let's wait. Okay, the instance is now running. If I just copy the public IP address over here again, and let's close this out, and again go towards my downloads folder and cmd fsh -i and the first instance EC2 user at the rate public IP. Yes. Okay, let's click on uptime. As you can see, the uptime was not initialized with a 0. The instance was even stopped, but since the respective data is copied, the data which is running on the RAM, the respective processes which were running on the RAM are copied into the encrypted hard disk, right? And the instance got hibernated, right? So if you need to see this thing without hibernation, right? So I'm just going to launch another instance without hibernate, right? So let's say my sixth instance, right? And go down, T2 micro, keep pair logging, let's say first instance key pair, server security group, instance -sg, right? Going down, I'm not touching anything or anything else, right? So I'm not just enabling the hibernation as well as I'm not encrypting the root volume as well. So I'm just launching the instance. Instance is now launched. Let's wait. Let's wait for this instance to completely boot up. Okay, this instance is now running, and let's copy the public IP of this respective instance. I'm just coming out of my first fifth instance, exit out, and I'm just pasting the public IP of my sixth instance. Yes, right. So I'm just going to click execute the command uptime. Enter. Basically, you can see 0 minute, right? So let's wait for another minute. I'm just going to restart or stop this instance and start again. And let's see how the uptime command will behave in the normal instances, right? So let's wait. So let's again check uptime. Okay, so this is 1 minute. Cool. So I'm just going to stop the instance again. My sixth instance state, uh, stop the instance, stopped. Okay, this suspected instance is now stopping. So as you can see, I haven't enabled the hibernation on this suspected instance. So let's see how the uptime operation will behave. Right. So let's refresh this page. The instance is now stopping. Let's wait for this instance to get completely stopped, and I'll just again start this instance, and let's see how this suspected uh, instance will behave, right? So this suspected instance is now stopped, and I'm just going to start the instance again. Instance state start instance. The instance is now starting. Okay, the instance is now running. So I'll just go over here, copy here. The pipeline was closed. So there's another way by which you can keep the IP static, that is known as elastic IP. I'll just ignore, just explain that concept as well, but just bear with me. SSH, yes. Click on execute the uptime command. As you can see, this is 0 minute, right? So this is the above one is the power of the hibernation. That means the running processes are copied onto the encrypted EBS volume, which is attached with the instance, right? So this is the thing which you need to remember, right? So I hope the things are clear. We have covered a lot of things in the EC2 part as well. It means we have learned that how to create an EC2 instance, what is the meaning of an AMI, and what is the meaning of the security groups. We have seen how we can create the web server in the EC2 instance. On the other hand, we have also covered that what is the meaning of hibernation, and what is the meaning of bootstrapping, what is the meaning of the user data, and how the things are actually connected with each other with the EC2. And we have also seen that this is the IaaS service, and what is the core meaning of EC2. We have also covered this thing in this section as well. So I hope this respective session was very helpful for you. So this is the part, which is the first part which we are covering. So in the next part, we are just going to start with the load balancer, right? Load balancing and the auto scaling groups. That means how we can balance the load across the instances. Let's say if we have the web application, right? So that means obviously we cannot rely on any specific machine. That means single instance to handle the excess load, right? So we need to distribute the load on the different instances, right? So accordingly, we have different managed load balancers which are offered by the AWS Cloud. Different types of load balancers are available for the different use cases. We will understand each and everything in the great detail, right? So that respective thing, which is also going to get covered in the next sub part, right? So I hope the things are clear. So let's see if we have any specific theoretical concept left. Other we have already covered many uh, EC2 concepts, but there are some common specific ports which you need to remember. Obviously, let's say if you're just someone will ask you or something like that. So there are some common ports which you need to remember as a cloud engineer or obviously as a software engineer as well. So mostly the SSH works on port number 22, right? On the other hand, if you're just if you're just deployed a Windows instance, right? So Windows works on port number 3389, right? Let's say that the portal which is uses RDP, that is Remote Desktop Protocol, right? Which is used only for Windows, and some remote desktop client is required to connect to the remote Windows instance. HTTPS works on port number 443, right? So this is the common ports which you need to remember. HTTP works on port number 80, and some different port number, let's say file transfer protocol FTP works on port number 21. Sorry, FTP not FTP. Right, there's another protocol. Let's say if you're just securing the if you're just securing the file transfer, that also works on port number 22, SFTP. Secure file transfer protocol. That means upload the files using SSH. Right. So these are some basic concepts for the same. So accordingly, you need to use the respective port number so that you can use those respective port numbers according to your respective use case, right? So it is already the end of the first part almost. That means we have covered a lot. We have just covered the basics of AWS. What is AWS? What and why of the cloud? What is AWS? And what is the meaning of IAM, right? And the users, groups, permission inheritance, JSON, understanding the IAM policies, what and why of IAM policies, the breakdown. Coming to the EC2 instance, we have learned what is the meaning of EC2, why EC2 is required, how to launch an EC2 instance, what is the meaning of bootstrapping, how you can create the web server, how you can install the softwares, configure the respective softwares on the uh, uh, instance, and what is the meaning of AWS EC2 Hibernate, right? And that is the things which we had covered in the complete hands-on as well as the theoretical as well. In the next section, we will just cover the load balancer and the auto scaling groups, right? So stay tuned. I'll just see you in the next part. Right now, this is the break of 30 minutes. Right now, this is 14:28 IST. So we will just see you at 3 p.m. IST, right? So that we can just start with the next part. Thank you so much.